Today's day in the life is going to be a little different from the ones I've done before. I'm not going to be sitting at my desk for ages or wandering around my local town. In fact, today I'm heading all the way to London to see some sights, meet another YouTuber I've been following for a long time, and to give the iPhone 14 Pro Max a proper workout. We're going to be using it pretty much all day, so it's going to be a really good show of what it can do. Once again, I'm bringing the Fjallraven Kanken 17 bag with me today, as I do have a very small camera kit on me, but otherwise I'm not bringing anything else. No iPad, no MacBook, no nothing. The iPhone is going to be the only computing device with me for the entire day, so I'll be keeping an eye on the battery life too. Getting to London from where I live is about a 3.5 hour journey. Some of that is by car, but it's mostly by train, and that's where my iPhone use really does start. I'll use the train time to check a bunch of emails, listen to Spotify for pretty much the whole way, and also catch up on some YouTube videos I've got saved for later. I've been really loving this Anker Mag Go accessory recently, and I've turned it off so it's not charging my phone, but this holds up the iPhone, so when I'm watching YouTube or something like that, it just gives you a much better angle, and it's really perfect for travel too. The train gets into Paddington station at about 10:30 in the morning, and because it's such a beautiful station, we actually decide to stop there and take a bunch of photos and video. I am using the iPhone's Pro RAW setting, which is giving me those full 48 megapixel shots, and these photos look absolutely gorgeous. If you're not looking for depth on an iPhone and you focus on kind of shape and color, you can get some really nice results. And Paddington station has so much going on, it was great to take some photos there. I am editing all of these photos that you see in this video, and they're done on my Lightroom preset pack, so if you like to edit like I do, then I'll link those below. After getting all the photos and video that I wanted to, and paying a visit to the bear from darkest Peru, we need to head over to the tube stop to see where we're going. Our first stop is Covent Garden, so I'll check my phone and use Google Maps to make sure I know where I'm going. Luckily, to get to Covent Garden from Paddington is really easy, so we head on down and go there. I'm using Apple Pay on the Underground for everything, which is super convenient, and much to our surprise, when we got to the tube stop, it was completely empty, and it was just a kind of strange feeling. So we actually spent a little bit of time in there getting some more photos and video with the iPhone, and Sam took some photos on his camera as well. It was kind of a strange experience being completely alone in a tube stop, but we made the most of it, and then we moved on to Covent Garden. After getting to Covent Garden, we stop in the Grind coffee shop for a quick coffee and something to eat before we crack on. I also used this time to check Instagram and to actually draft out a few posts which I had going live that day, and to check Google Maps for our first real stop of the day, which is Goodwin's Court. Goodwin's Court is this tiny little street just off Covent Garden, and it was really interesting to see it because it has this complete kind of Diagon Alley vibe. It looks really Victorian, and if you're a fan of kind of Harry Potter and all those sorts of things, it's definitely worth seeing. It was really old, and we spent a bunch of time there getting more photos, more video on the iPhone, and just kind of enjoying walking down it because it did have such a vibe to it. After enjoying Goodwin's Court, we head back to Covent Garden and into the main kind of market area, where I spend a bit of time taking a bunch more photos on the iPhone and a bunch more video as well. And this is kind of where I started to notice that how nice the 48 megapixel photos are on this phone. I took a bunch more, and we spent a little bit of time just standing around editing them on Lightroom, and we just got some really nice results. Generally speaking, when I head out to take photos or video specifically, I always take my Sony or Fuji with me because I just love shooting with a real camera, but spending some time with the iPhone today, and especially here, this just made me realize that for, general snaps and general photography, you can get some really fantastic results. Before leaving as well, we also paid a visit to the Apple store. I don't have one where I live, so whenever I get a chance to go to one, I do, and the Covent Garden one really was beautiful. They had a talk going on about how to use the iPhone camera a little bit better, which is kind of funny to see, and we just explored the shop. Sam was also debating picking up a new Apple Watch strap, but then he saw the price and thought better of it. And with that, we decided to leave. After this, I checked my iPhone battery, and I'm on about 65%, which honestly is a little bit lower than I was expecting it to be, but I have been using it since 6 o'clock in the morning, so maybe it's not too bad. Oh, and if you are enjoying the wallpapers you're seeing in this video, this is from my new pack. This is called the Bokeh pack, and it's inspired by the bokeh you see in photography. And honestly, I'm so pleased with how it came out. We spent a lot of time making sure these were just right, and I think it's probably my favorite wallpaper pack we've ever done. These look absolutely beautiful on iPhone and on desktop and laptop and iPad. So if you want to help support the channel, then I'll link them below. Go check them out. After enjoying Covent Garden, it was time to meet another YouTuber and general online creator, Oliur, who's someone I've been following for a really long time. and I was really excited to meet up and chat with him. But this is where things got a little bit more tricky for us. We used Google Maps once again to go down to the tube station to make sure we're getting on the right tube and all of that. And turns out we got there and the tube was delayed, and it was delayed again, and it was delayed again, and then that tube got outright cancelled. So then we had to go back out to the surface to phone Oliur and make a big apology that we're going to be late, and then we had to find 2 other tube stations and 2 other tube stops to finally get on the TLR, which took us to Canary Wharf. After finally getting to Canary Wharf, we finally sit down for some awesome burgers with Oliur. And it was really great to chat with him. I've been friends with Oliur online for quite a long time, but meeting up in person is just kind of that different experience. And it was great to chat YouTube and tech in general, our favourite cameras and how we stay motivated, and just tips and tricks and how we kind of approach work when it comes to YouTube. And it's really nice to talk to someone who does a similar thing for a job, because not many people do. If you're not overly sure who Oliur is, and I'm sure most of you probably are on this channel, I'll link all of his socials below, but he also makes incredible tech content and I'd really recommend you check it out. It's all kind of dark and moody, which is kind of the opposite of what this channel is, but the content is fantastic and he's well worth following, so I'll link all that below. After lunch we had a quick walk around and he showed us some spots in Canary Wharf that he really likes, and I also finally showed him the moon swatch which I'd managed to obtain earlier that week. After that we say our goodbyes, and as we're in Canary Wharf, me and Sam decide to stick around and we use the iPhone to take some more photo and video and to really enjoy it. And once again, I spend a little bit more time in Lightroom playing around with the photos to see what they look like. And the same with the video too. Some of the things I'm capturing here just looks absolutely awesome on the iPhone, and the stabilization as well was just epic. So it was nice to spend a little bit of time doing that too. Once we'd had our fill of all the views and vistas of Canary Wharf, we decided to head off to our next stop, which is St Dunsten in the east. I was kind of excited to visit St Dunsten in the east because I'd seen it on Instagram and it looked like a really beautiful place. It's basically a bombed out church from World War II, which was never kind of rebuilt, and kind of nature's taken back over it. But unfortunately when we got there, all the plants were kind of dead and it was really quite busy, so we don't really spend too much time there other than getting a few quick shots before deciding to head somewhere else. Our plan earlier in the day was to go on the Emirates cable cars over the River Thames, but unfortunately because it was so windy we thought they might be shut, or we might just be really sick if we went on them. So I thought we should go to the Tate Modern, which is a huge art building in London which has a viewing deck which is really high up, and it would be great to get some photos from. So once again, taking the tube and a little bit of walking this time too, we get to the Tate Modern and we start heading upwards in there. We get to level 5 and then suddenly we see that all the levels above that, including the viewing platform, were shut. So without wasting any more time in there, we head outside and see the Millennium Bridge, which has that classic view of St Paul's. And I once again stopped for some photos and video on the iPhone, which again are just looking really, really nice. So it was nice to kind of recover from that, but it was still not perfect. At this point as well, I check my battery on my phone and I'm down to around 35%, and this is at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So things are getting really low, but I am keeping an eye on it and trying to close Google Maps when I remember to. Despite the day wearing on, there was one more stop I wanted to make before we headed back to Paddington to get our train home, and this was Kynance Mews. This is a beautiful little street in Gloucester Road. So once again, we take the tube and use a combination of Google Maps and just looking at signs to make sure we know where we're going. And it really lived up to the hype. I've seen this a lot on Instagram, and it's also where they filmed the latest season of You, or season 4 of You on Netflix, so I kind of wanted to see it for that too. But it was really, really beautiful. I can see why people have a view of London and they just see these, because they were beautiful little homes and they're all really cute and cozy. So we spend a good bit of time there as we're losing the light, taking some more photos, taking some more video, and just enjoying it as tourists. It did make me wish we'd come here around golden hour because it would have been beautiful then, but it was still nice to see it, and I'm really happy we finally made that final stop. After spending as much time there as possible, it's actually getting pretty close to when we need to head back to Paddington Station to get our train home, which was at 7 o'clock. So once again, we head back on the tube and get back to Paddington Station at around 6:15. After picking up some dinner, we sit down and I take a little bit more time on the iPhone to edit some photos on Lightroom, to post a bunch more on Instagram because I pretty much ignored it all day, and to also browse Twitter and talk to some people on WhatsApp too. I'm down to around 10% of battery at this point, which I thought was quite shocking because usually when I'm at home, I get to about 75%. 5% a day, and that's kind of it. But it is worth noting that Google Maps has been open pretty much all day. I've been taking a bunch of photos, a bunch of video, been talking to people on the phone, and in London, at least on the network I'm on, 4G and 5G seems to swap around a lot, which I know is quite taxing on the battery, and that's something I just don't have at home. So I get down to around 5% after doing all that and decide to throw it on the Anker Mag Go charger, which I'm actually really happy I brought with me because I've still got a 3.5 journey home. At this point, I wait for the iPhone to charge up a little, I burn my mouth on some coffee, and then we finally get the train home. And pretty much for the entire train home, I just listen to Spotify and we talk about the day. So that pretty much wraps up a day in the life of the iPhone 14 Pro Max when I'm going to London and back in a day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a blast making it, so if you did, pop a like, that'd be awesome. And if you could leave a comment below of anywhere else that I should visit in London, then do, because I love to find out new places and also love to hear what you have to think. And of course, like always, I will see you all in the next one.